Bing.
And we're live.
We are live. All right, let's hop on over to the event as well. See. Oh, wait. Okay, wait. Here we go. Okay, we are live now. I think what I'm
Looks like a few folks are starting to roll in.
All right, welcome everyone. Yeah. Okay, as wait, we're getting some echo. Sorry, 1 second. There. All right, I'm sorry. We were double playing on the video. Okay. All right, yeah, welcome everyone to the Q&A founder webinar. This is super exciting. Looks like we have a couple people rolling in, so we would love, if you are here, show some love. Tell us where you're from on this Friday afternoon. Yeah, sorry, Vance. The echo was on my side because I was also looking through the live webinar, so it was like a couple delay, but yeah, so Vance, I'm going to call you out. Where are you joining from? Anyways, Colorado, Baltimore, wow, we're getting people from all over. All right.
Ooh, we got Brooklyn in the house. Emily.
Trooper. All right, so I guess, yeah, we could probably kick things off pretty soon, or Vince, what do you think? You wanna wait for a couple more people to roll in? What are you feeling today? What's the flavor?
Yeah, I think we could probably go ahead and get started. Got the recording going here, so anybody who gets in late can watch the recap later on the social media channels.
All right. Yeah, so pretty much how we're going to structure this is pretty straightforward. We just want to give a quick introduction about who we are. Then we're going to dive into a little bit about like backstory of Terrashroom, how it started, and then ultimately dive into a lot of the Q&A questions that you guys have asked. We have quite a few questions, so we're going to try to get through all of them during this. So yeah, all right. Vince, you want to kick us off and tell us a little bit about yourself? Then I'll go afterwards.
Yeah, for sure. So welcome everybody. Glad to have you guys here. Calling in live today from Texas. My name is Vince. I'm a co-founder here of Terrashroom with Jared. So kind of just telling the backstory. Last summer, I got it in my head. I wanted to try out growing mushrooms as a hobby. You know, I like to collect hobbies and do interesting things. I'm an engineer, like to tinker with things, and thought, how hard could it be to grow mushrooms, right? Got on the internet. Turns out it's pretty tricky. A lot to it, and so started researching products. Saw a bunch of low effort grow bags and kind of DIY monotubs that kind of look super sketchy. Not something I wanted in the house, and people coming over to see, and I ended up coming across the Terrashroom ad and said, wow, this thing's incredible. That's such a beautiful product. There must be this enormous team behind it, ready to ship any day now. So I ended up reaching out to Terrashroom, sent an email into the support channel, and just said, hey, my name is Vince. I'm a software engineer. I've got like 2 decades of experience building SaaS companies, worked with some pretty, massive companies with big exits, and wanted to offer some help in the software side of things. So Jared reached out. To my surprise, at the time, it was just him working on it. And so, we got to talking, and one thing led to another. Decided to join up last summer, primarily on, building out the software side, our mobile app, which you guys will see soon here. And pretty excited to be on the team. We've been growing some mushrooms with the Terrashroom at home and feeding the family dinner and having a pretty good time. So happy to have you all here. And it's come a little background there. And Jared.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, so I'll start from like the super beginning, then I'll kind of add on to where Vince and I connected. So Yeah, so my name is Jared Steele, the founder, CEO behind Terrashroom. So yeah, pretty much Terrashroom came out of like a weekend hackathon project sort of thing. I was basically dating a girl about a year ago, and I was just kind of burnt out at this like health tech job I was working as a sales director for. And so I was just like, well, like we did pretty well. We made them some money, and basically it was prompted just like, hey, like you should just start your own thing. So I was like, okay. And so basically I had this like running list of like ideas that I thought would be cool. And so I've been growing mushrooms for about 6 years. And I think like the thing is like when I started in college, it was just like, it is hard. It's really hard. You have like a lot of failure, a lot of problems with like contamination, a lot of issues of just like, I don't know, it looks sketchy. And like, if you've ever tried, it's just, I think everyone shares like the same experience where it's like, there's got to be a better way. So, long story short, yeah, put some prototypes together, like fired up the 3D printer, put some CAD models together, wired up some like really basic stuff with an Arduino. And I kind of realized like, okay, this could be a thing. And it actually looks pretty cool. And so basically that was back roughly like Q1 last year. So maybe like February-ish, and just a lot of testing, because I think the thing about Terrashroom is like, hardware is pretty hard because you have electrical components, you have firmware, you have software. There's just a lot of stuff. And then we also have this whole like biological component that makes it difficult. But so spent about 6 months just like really going through this process of my 3D printer was like running 24/7, just trying different prototypes, different things, see what was working, what wasn't. And then ultimately got an email one day because I just started running ads, like literally threw it up on Facebook. I was like, let's just see what happens. And probably one of the, I don't even know, first couple hundred people to really have like any reaction to it was Vince. And I think Vince was very much under the impression this was a very large team, very large project. But the fact is like, he was just like, yeah, I'd love to help. I was like really just blown away with his background in software development and just being like a technical leader. So joined forces, and things like really took off basically from there. So we raised a small angel round from some really incredible investors, people that are behind some really cool health and wellness brands. And I mean, we just basically went to work. So this is just, us, 80, 90 hours a week, just like iteration after iteration after iteration, testing different things, hardware. So it's been a super fun journey. And so basically like where we are now is, I mean, things really ramped up, I guess, kind of late November, but basically December through the past Q1 or, January and beyond. And so, I mean, that's really like where we are now is just we've seen that, yeah, we have thousands of customers. We have almost close to like 20,000 people on our pre-launch wait list. And I mean, it's just been a really like humbling experience to see that like the world of mycology is massive. And people are seeing this trend that it's good for our health, it's good for our wellness. And so, I mean, I think what we're just super excited about is we want anyone anywhere to grow mushrooms at home in a really simple yet beautiful way. And so that's what we're just like working day and night to do, is just deliver a product that kind of knocks everyone's socks off and just like, wow, like spread the love of mycology throughout the world. So yeah, that's kind of the high level. But Vince, would you say that was a good recap?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, spreading the love for sure. I know there's a lot of people I think interested in this as a new hobby, myself included, and just kind of going down the rabbit hole, figuring it all out, how to, get the mycelium to inoculate and kind of different things like that. And, on the fruiting stage and how to care for them and make sure we've got enough oxygen to breathe and water and things like that. And, I've got a lot going on my plate, like I said, working on this and, family time and all that. It's hard sometimes to even remember to water the houseplants, let alone, go and miss the mushrooms every day and make sure, they're getting everything they need. So having a Terrashroom to just kind of take over that process and automate it so I can set it and forget it and have a nice steak dinner with some mushrooms on a Friday night is super cool.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we have a lot of people saying things in the comments and such, which is super fun. But we definitely had a lot of questions that have been loaded up. So I think it's probably good that we just go one by one. And I would probably say, I mean, do we want to post them in the chat, the actual questions, or I guess we can just read them out loud? Does that sound good, Vince?
Yeah, I think so. We collected quite a few from last night from the post, and then as people are commenting here in the broadcast, we can try to pick up a few of those.
Yeah, and I think we should. Yeah, and let's also post the questions in the comments for the main reason that if it already gets answered, we're not like double, people know not to, I guess, double ask, just, save everyone's time. Okay, so the first question is, and I'm just going to post this in the chat real quick. So are you going to have profiles installed for the different mushrooms, set and forget it? So yeah, just like a crock pot, or I guess a George Foreman grill, that's kind of the whole design of this, is set and forget it. Yeah, so every single mushroom largely has like a different, I guess, grow sequence. And not only is it during the inoculation phase, but also obviously for the fruiting stage. So that being said, the way that you grow oysters is different than lion's mane and certain other species as well. So point is yeah, basically temperature, humidity, fresh air exchange, or basically like the fan speed, how much air circulation or to push out the CO2. That's all going to be preset. So you have the ability to have like a custom, like if you want to basically do your own custom grow with like, if you want to test out with like, a little bit higher humidity than what's recommended, or maybe like higher airflow or less, like whatever you want to do, we give you the customization of that. But what's kind of easy about it is it's like a preset. So it's like you could basically press 3 buttons. Basically, when are you starting to grow? What is the species that you're trying to grow? And then basically fire it off, and it'll just run in the background. All you have to basically just do is like, if you want to change the light colors or any of that, that's totally up to you. So
yeah, it's literally set it and forget it. With the mobile app, being able to control this thing completely, you're basically you're going to get your pre-inoculated cake. It's ready to pop, ready to fruit, and you just throw it in there. Pick what kind of mushroom it is in the app, hit the button, and just wait a week or two, and you'll have some fresh mushies to eat with dinner.
Absolutely. Okay. So I'm gonna put in the second question that we have, Vince, and this one is from Amara, and I think you might be able to touch on this. So the question is, I know this product will have built-in video recording that will stored on a server. My question is, will the customer data from the app and the use of features like the time-lapse video recording be shared, sold, or accessible to any other parties other than the customer in Terrashroom? Will individual owners of a Terrashroom device and app users have the right to not have their data and video content sold to third parties or agencies? Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. So, first off, as a technology company, first and foremost, our data privacy and customers' data is really important to us, and we're doing everything we can to protect that. At no time are we going to be selling customer data or videos, things like that, outside of necessary use cases, and especially the videos will not leave our servers at all. They'll be locked down, very secure. And not only that, but customers will be able to turn off the camera if they want to, so no videos would record at all in that case. We're going to be using short-term storage for most of these anyways. The idea will be to capture time-lapse videos of your grows, and then once you download those, we can delete them, or you'll be able to delete videos on request. My background in technology and security, I've been spending the last several years working at banks and cryptocurrency exchanges, and so again, the security is super important. It's top of my mind, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure our customers' data remains private and in the right hands.
All right. So that being said, yeah, like you don't have anything to worry about on that. And we've actually, and I probably want to even add this, we do also just have an option as well, where what you can do is you can basically place a like a privacy cap on the actual camera. So if you don't even want to have any sort of interface to the camera, you are able to like literally have a physical barrier. So that way, I mean, you have complete privacy. So that being said, appreciate you asking that question, Amara. Okay, so the next question that we have is, and who was this? This was Andy. Andy asked, how do I find / use my pre-order discount? So there's a couple ways to probably split this up. So basically, if you join the email pre-launch waitlist, you get 25% off. So basically you get about $75 off. So that's like 20% off and some change. Or if you've placed a $49 pre-order deposit, that will give you basically half off of the like what we're launching at. So instead of paying $3.99, you only pay $1.99. And on top of that, you also get free grow cakes, a couple months of grow cakes, and some other cool stuff. And then as well as, so if you place a $199, just like the full pre-order itself, which is also $199, basically we're honoring that. One thing I probably should mention is at the end of the month, we are going to have new product photography, videography. We're going to have basically action shots of the product in action. You're going to see it go through time lapses, different grow cycles. Why I'm bringing that up is basically after we do launch, with that, we are going to have a price increase. So basically, the earlier you do place a pre-order, you get a better discount. So we're basically going to see a slight increase as we get closer and closer to this ship date. So that being said, if you have any further questions on that, we're happy, send us a DM. We're happy to discuss that. So Vincent, did I explain that okay? Or leave out any information?
Yeah, totally. You hit it.
Okay, cool. All right. So we have a question that came in from Sukma, and they asked, have you made any progress in arrangements to ship to Europe or the UK? Vince, you wanna answer that?
Yeah, definitely. So our initial focus is going to be the US. There's a lot of requirements that need to be met for electronic devices and testing and things like that. And so, that's our primary target. The majority of our orders are from the US at this point, but we do plan to expand out to Europe and elsewhere as fast as we can. We may even be able to get that out with the first batch or so, just depending, but we're really trying to stay lean and hit our targets here in the US as quickly as possible and then expand out. That being said, if you want to go ahead and create a pre-order deposit and you live elsewhere, we'll be happy to refund if we're not able to ship to you in a reasonable timeline. So if you're out there in the UK or somewhere, anywhere really, just go ahead and drop a pre-order. If we can get it out to you, we'll be thrilled. And if not, no worries there.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so this is got a question from Miranda. So Miranda asked, I'm going to put this in the chat. Do the lights inside the chamber have Bluetooth capability? So yeah, this is you can maybe see from my background, but this is my absolute favorite feature is just the mood lights. It's the coolest study lamp or whatever. Normally, I have my Terrashroom next to my work desk, and it's probably the coolest piece of office equipment that you can possibly have, especially if you like to work in a more darker environment as well. But yeah, so complete remote, basically from your smartphone, you can control all the light settings, different sequences, different we're going to be playing a lot with that to really get that nailed down, because not only is it important to be able to grow mushrooms, but it kind of, as I mentioned early on, is my purpose behind this is we want it to be really, really attractive. And I think, LED lights are a really good way of doing that. And also they just kind of make it fun. So yeah, that's a question I do like. Cool. All right. So another question is from Mwazinti, and that's the username. So I'm going to post this in the chat. And the question is, do you have different cakes for different spores, such as Aussies that grow on wood? Okay, so yeah, great question. So basically, there's a couple ways to think of this. So what number one is we're going to offer both pre-inoculated and what we call blank grow cakes. Pre-inoculated is they're basically, you pretty much drop them in the grow chamber, they're ready to go. They're already, the mycelial mass is already formed, and it's pretty much ready to fruit. If it's a blank cake, it is not. So that way, if you want to inject your own spores, because we're only going to be offering a limited variety of them, but if you want to inoculate with your own spores, you're able to do that. So, and with that being said, is we are going to have a master's mix, and then also so basically one for, I guess you'd say a dung loving variety, and then one that's more of a wood loving variety. Keep in mind, we've had a couple people ask this, and let me make sure it's not on the questions coming up. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to touch on this kind of a side note question. People do ask about what can be grown, and that being said, there are certain mycorrhizal species that you cannot. So those are basically some that require a living symbiotic relationship with the mushroom or a tree nearby. So basically, if you want to grow any wood-loving species, so that's there's so many different kinds. 100% you can grow it in here. The only kind is maybe you'll see truffles, and a couple others that are just, because of how they grow, they've never been recreated in a lab setting. So hope that gives a little bit of background and answers that question.
Yeah, we've got a question from Crystal that kind of hits the that exact question right there. And I bring it up as well because when I got the initial thought that I wanted to grow mushrooms as a hobby, I was thinking, oh, I want to try to grow the Super Mario mushroom, the famous Amanita red and white spotted mushroom. And that was one of the first things I started researching into. It's actually incredibly difficult, if not impossible. There's a lot of people who are trying to do so, but rumors of having luck with strawberries or bonsai trees inside a contained environment, but nothing really too successful just yet. And we've been spitballing the idea of potentially doing a cash bonus for anyone who can figure out how to do Morels or Amanita or some of these other, unsolved problems. We were joking. It's kind of like trying to solve nuclear fission or fusion. And it's not quite possible scientifically yet, but if, any up and coming mycologists want to take on the challenge, we're happy to talk with you.
Yeah. Well, so cash bonus, and, maybe you can be like the new head of mycology for Terrashroom. So DMOs, if that's actually a challenge you're interested in, because really we want to make technology that makes growing mushrooms accessible, not only like the kinds that we know about, the kinds that also haven't been grown. So okay, so we have a question from, let's see, this was Jeff. He asked, does the mycelium have access to any unsavory chemical coatings like PFAS or plastics in the chamber? Okay, so this is basically, we're making a grow chamber so people can grow mushrooms that will most likely be eaten. And that being said, of course, like, we are going to be designing a device that basically all the technical, chemical, mechanical ratings are basically made for food grade consumption. The whole point of what we're doing largely is to make, really the backbone of what we are is like a health and wellness company. And so, we like chemicals like PFAS. And these forever plastics, like 100% is what we're trying to stay away from that, because we know that, we're not trying to put that trash in our bodies. So appreciate Tinjif you asking that. All right. Do we have any questions in the chat that we should be addressing that are, Vince, are you looking through that by chance?
I'm trying to follow. They're coming in pretty fast here. Let's see if we can pull out a few.
Because I was going to say, we still have quite a few. I just want to make sure that we're not going to be. Should we keep going with the pre-asked list that we already have?
Yeah, let's keep crunching. I'll pull out a few from the chat here as we're.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so all right. I think we already asked this, but I'm gonna just touch on it again. It's Ollie asks, can the camera be disabled? I don't want someone to hack into and see me sleeping with their mom. Totally understand that. We don't want to see that either. No. Basically, you have the ability to turn off the camera, as I mentioned before. You will basically have like a silicone cap that you can place over the lens, so it's like a privacy cap that, if you want the camera to be completely disabled, you're totally covered on that. So we absolutely do value our users' desire for privacy. Okay.
We've got one in here from Mark, it looks like, in Colorado, asking if we'd supply Terrashroom units to a store in Colorado in a retail setting. And for sure, we're talking to quite a few partners to sell these in retail, and can't wait to get them in stores pretty much anywhere, Colorado included. So if you've got a storefront or a shop that would be interested in selling a few Terrashroom units, or even have one on display just as a talking piece, definitely shoot us a DM and we'll reach out as soon as we're ready.
Yeah, and I think to touch on that, we'll definitely be even looking into like a referral program as well. So, if you happen to be on social media a lot, you're super passionate about the mycology space and just mushrooms in general, we're looking at like building out like an affiliate type program. So, if it's something that you want to record live videos of, talk about, show off to your friends, and if you're referring friends to it, it's like we basically just want to grow the community. So a lot of different ways with that. That we could split that up, and that's kind of something that we're going to be really ironing out as we get closer to launch.
We got another good one here, Jared, from the audience. I'll put it up on the screen here from Danny.
Okay, let's see.
It's on the live chat here. Can I grow other kinds of plants in the chamber, such as microgreens? It would be cute to have multiple chambers and grow different kinds of mushrooms, but also plants.
Yes. Okay. So great thing that you asked. Yes. So what's actually really cool about this? So one of our investors and advisors, his name is Kevin Espiritu. He's actually the guy behind Epic Gardening on YouTube. So they're like one of the largest gardening channels. And so basically, one of the first things that he noted and mentioned about Terrashroom, he's just like, I can't tell you how many times people in my community have asked about whether it's carnivorous plants, orchids, or just basically like kind of these more rare tropical species. So best way to put it is 100%. You can grow microgreens, and we're even going to be designing special cake, essentially holders that essentially kind of function like a chia pet. So if you like, for myself personally, I used to grow a lot of broccoli sprouts. After like listening to what Dr. Rhonda Patrick would say, and I mean, that was probably one of the biggest use cases I saw for Terrashroom that wasn't around mushrooms, was the ability to grow microgreens in a very clean hydroponic way that also looks very attractive. So absolutely, that is what we plan on doing. And so, yeah, I mean, hey, if you want to have a whole wall of Terrashrooms, like we strongly encourage that, because we'll probably have some fun little visual contest from there. So appreciate you asking that, Danny. All right. 10 Jeff, man, he's been killing it with the questions on this preloaded list. Okay, so 10 Jeff asked, how could we make or buy more inoculated cakes in the future? So yeah, basically the way Terrashroom is set up is through the mobile app, you have the ability to just pretty much set up either a recurring purchase pattern. So if it's like you want to grow a new variety of mushrooms every single month, we can set that up. Or basically just through our the Terrashroom store, the app, you can literally purchase whatever you want in terms of like pre-inoculated or blank cakes. So hope that answers your question, 10 Jeff.
So we've got a couple coming in around specs of the Terrashroom as well. Someone in the comment section asked about how long the power cord is. Susan here is curious how big the water tank will be.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of the specs up on the product page now. So if you go back and check out that page, we've got listed out details on the power specifications, length of the power cord, which is 6 feet. Jared may know off the top of his head how big the water tank is, but
yeah,
it's large enough to grow for a month, most varieties of mushrooms, so you won't have to refill it between grows. And that's kind of what we were targeting, to make sure that you can grow your mushrooms, pull the cake out, and then only refill while you're swapping varieties.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, and I think so. And I'll just drop the link to the product page, and you can see it. 1 second. Yeah, so basically on the product page, if you click, there's 2 little tabs that expand out, and one is technical specifications, one's key features. The technical specs are going to list out all of that. So, but to answer your question about the water tank, 900 milliliters and a 6-foot power cord. And that's, keep in mind, that's basically like a US triple prong, that I guess wall outlet power cable. Okay, let's keep this rolling. Appreciate everyone's engagement, by the way. This has been really, like, this is fun that everyone's chiming in and asking really good questions. All right. Okay, yeah, so Crystal, I know we asked this one, but we might as well touch on it again, maybe. Vince, the one about what kind of mushrooms can be grown. Because I feel like that should get stated again, or are we good?
Yeah, but I think maybe we could talk a little bit more about why. So a lot of folks are interested in morels or amanita again, things like that. But those mushrooms actually need to have a relationship with a living tree. So they'll tap into the root system of the tree and begin sharing nutrients between the tree and itself, and also protecting the tree from different types of pathogens. So it's actually this kind of really cool 2-way relationship where the tree helps the mushroom and the mushroom helps the tree. And through the network, down below the soil, these organisms are actually communicating with each other and in a way kind of passing chemical signals and sharing nutrients. And so it's really exciting and cool to learn about from a science perspective. But again, it presents this difficult problem where it's near impossible to cultivate indoors or with a controlled environment. But I have seen hints and rumors online, various forums and things like that, that some people may have some success there. And so, again, if folks can figure that out, we'd love to talk with you and see where it leads.
Awesome. Okay, so I think we went through a lot of the pre-completed comments, or the pre-filled out comments. So I think now what we'll just go ahead and do is start answering the ones that are in the actual comment section. So
we've got a couple, and probably a crowd favorite that we'll have to address here.
Yeah. So Troy asked, when are you shipping units? So great question. Basically, we are slated for late summer at this point. And so what basically, and this is the thing, is just so everyone knows, like, I think this is something we could easily talk about, is the difficulties and frustrations of inventing, iterating, and then ultimately bringing a new product to market. I think everyone is very much used to a world of like where we live in Amazon, and I always kind of like use this as like a little bit of like a reference. The Apple AirTag, it was basically designed by like a team of like 30 people, which is like a very simple circular like tracking technology. So that being said, though, we've spent a lot of time obviously designing, building this out, and where we're at. We had some pretty big hiccups around Q4 of last year, where we made some shifts, whatever, and that's kind of where we saw the delays primarily coming from. But that being said, yeah, we've made an incredible amount of progress. We're basically testing out the final design samples and what these are looking like, and we're going to be doing testing on those. Assuming everything checks out, we're going to start with the injection molds and getting that really going in the next couple months, so we can get these out to customers ASAP. Because, look, first off, we appreciate everyone's support. We appreciate that people place a pre-order. This is something that we're super passionate about. We want to get it in your hands. The caveat to all of this is we do not want to ship a product that when you get it within a week or two, you start having technical issues, just because it's a lot more difficult to do that. And so we're trying to get it in your hands, a very, very high quality product that you're going to be absolutely delighted for the years to come. So, yeah.
And as much as we'd love to, I want to snap my fingers and order one of these from Amazon right now and get them out to everybody. But the unfortunate reality is creating something from nothing is difficult. I think a lot of people take that for granted, especially if they haven't tried something like that before. And so, there's a lot of testing and effort and engineering that goes into a product like this, and we want to get the best product out to you as possible.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. So, yeah, Suzanne asked about how big the water tank will be. That's once again, that's on the product page. About 900 milliliters is what it's expected. Yeah, so I think that was answered in the comments, and we're just okay. So
we got a good one from Chris here. What environment do you find best for placement of the unit?
Yeah,
and that's the cool thing about Terrashroom. Pretty much any environment. Within your home, you can place it in the kitchen, on a nightstand, in the bedroom, in the basement, in the closet. Within the chamber, it's a completely controlled environment. So within the glass dome, we're controlling temperature, humidity, airflow, lighting, the most important things for mushrooms. It's funny, we see a lot of comments online saying mushrooms don't need light, this and that, but where there are some varieties that don't really need much light at all, if any, there are more than a few that actually do require some light and also use it for the direction of fruiting, so they kind of get their bearing, or figure out where they're supposed to sprout out based on the light. But all of that's in a controlled environment, so you can really place it anywhere. Obviously, extreme conditions, don't throw it in your freezer or in the fireplace, but other than that, pretty much anywhere you'd like in your home works great.
Yeah. And I think probably one thing to add is obviously we do not kind of treat it like it's a plant that grows in indirect light. That's because if you put it in where it's getting strong afternoon sun, the radiation, that's probably the number one thing you don't really want to do, just because that is going to probably alter the grow. Don't really recommend that. Okay, so wait, yeah, I do want to address, I think one that we did skip over. Jake Sheets asked, And this is something I think we definitely should quickly touch on. So Jake asked, so I checked my order and it says the page does not exist. Jared, please explain. Happy to explain because I think we've gotten some emails on this. Best way to put it, we've had some issues with Shopify where we've had to like migrate. And I think I touched on this in a previous email with one of the webinars. So if you see that, what basically that means is we had to migrate the orders from an old Shopify store to the new one. What we're going to be doing is basically sitting. So we have like a whole log of all the orders are kept. Everyone is, you're still in the system. We still have everything. It's just basically it's linking you to an old page. We're cleaning that up. So they're still, so we had the website down a couple of weeks ago. That was basically kind of some of the backlash from it. So Jake, want to answer that question because I'm sure that looks sketchy. And yeah, I mean, it's just issues with Shopify, how to migrate to a new store, and everything's back up now. So
yeah, and we're working on fixing those links as well. And there's an easy workaround. I'm going to drop it in the chat here. If you take your order and just replace the Terrashroom website with this one that I'm sharing now, that's actually the old site. It's still up. It's just not on our main domain. So you can use that to confirm your order there, take a screenshot, or however you feel comfortable. And we can also share out your new link for the new order confirmation in the new store if you want that as well. Just shoot us a DM and we'll get it over.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so we got a couple other questions. I'm going to throw up Chris.
John's got a good one.
Oh, what's that?
We just got Chris. John here's got a good question. Do mushrooms grown in the Terrashroom naturally regrow after the first harvest, or do you need to buy a new starter cake?
Yes, great question, John. Okay, so depends largely, but basically this is kind of the function. So pretty much every single cake that you have that is pre-inoculated from us, what you can do largely is essentially like after harvest, you can rehydrate the grow cake after about a couple days ish. Basically, you're gonna the mycelial mass will rehydrate, and you can get a second flush out of it very well. You technically don't need to do that step. However, you're going to see basically bigger yields because they, mushrooms are obviously there's a large amount of them is from water. So it kind of just rehydrates the cake. That method will get you about 2 to 3 grows pretty easily. Otherwise, you might have a little bit more of a struggle, but I mean, that's what we recommend. And that being said, it's not a one and done, and you kind of get more bang for your buck that way.
All right, here's another good one. What size mushroom cakes are pre-made, and how many flushes will you be able to get out? Kind of related to the last question.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Colton, great question. Love the dog in the profile picture, by the way. So yeah, the size of the mushroom cake. So what we're working with now is these are 6-pound grow cakes. So this is very, very large. You're going to get some nice yields from this. That being said, though, so about 6 pounds. So roughly like the dimensions of that is about 7 inches by 7 deep, and then about 8-ish inches tall. And how many flushes we'll be able to get out of each. So if it's pre-made, it depends on the varieties. Basically, good general like rule of thumb is like definitely 2. Some varieties as many possibly as 4. Keep in mind though, like with each subsequent harvest, your yield size is going to go down. So it's kind of like how much do you want to squeeze the lemon, and at what point is it good just to grab a new lemon? So hope that answers your question, Colton. And then, yeah, by the way, if you guys want to also ask like non-technical product questions, like if you're just like wanting to know anything about Vince, myself, the company, like the story, we're happy to answer those as well. So yeah. Okay.
Got one. Kelly, excited to get the Terrashroom and grow my own. I know the kits comes with a misting and time-lapse camera. I'm ridiculously excited to use this as a decor piece. Skipping ahead, does the interior glass stay clear enough to see the mushrooms inside, considering if it's a bit humid in there? If so, how does that work?
Yeah, great question. Okay, so all right, let me just make sure that there's not multiple questions in this question. Okay, yeah, so does the interior glass stay clear enough? Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of like a big thing that we've done a lot of testing with was early prototypes on there. We had a huge issue with like condensation and fog building up. So we've actually designed it. So if you kind of think of like the defrost system on like most cars, you have like that ventilation that's placed up right against the glass. We've actually designed the Terrashroom. So like that is basically exactly, we're taking that same technology. So the visibility is always at like a, that's kind of a very high priority item that as we designed it, we were thinking, okay, how do we make sure that this is not going to be a problem? So that being said, yeah, it's going to be clear. It is not going to be the type of thing that, after a couple, hours, whatever, it's going to fog up. Maybe like the only caveat to that is obviously like if you think of how like cold drinks, like condensation and fog. So if like your house is 40 degrees Fahrenheit, you might see some fogs just because of the differential. But if you keep your house anywhere near like what a pretty normal home should be at temperature wise, you're not going to see any visibility issues with the grow chamber. So hope that explains everything. Yeah. So not only just like the direct answer, but also a little bit on the back end of the technology of like why we're able to prevent the fog and condensation.
Got one from Lorena, and I think a few other people had asked as well. Who should we direct wholesale questions to? We got a work/collaborator form up on the website. So if you're interested in doing any kind of bulk order, selling in your store, or just generally working with us, we'll drop the link in the chat here if you want to drop in and fill that out. Leave your info and what you're interested in doing to work with us. Please do, and we'll get back to you super quickly.
Yeah, I think the question that we want to know, Lorena, is how many do you want to buy? That's what I wanted to know right now. But yeah, so yeah, reach out to us. And then, I mean, I guess you could also, if you want to send an email to Jared at terrashroom.net, we can, help you with those type of questions as well. So yeah. Okay. So Jared Castro. Oh,
there we go. Jared.
Yeah. Okay.
What will the new cakes cost?
Yeah. So we're, $29 is, cost of a cake. We're trying to keep it pretty much like pretty reasonable. Yeah, I think that's a pretty straightforward answer.
Favorite mushroom to eat? I've been really digging shiitakes lately. I've been picking them up at the store and growing a few in the terrace room, and big fan. Goes great with any meal, breakfast, steak, in a sandwich. How about you, Jared?
Yeah, favorite to eat and favorite to ingest might be two different things, but for cooking purposes, I don't know. I think blue oysters. I think they're incredible. It's kind of funny. I'm not a foodie at all, so to me, it's like I'm kind of learning about the culinary side of the world right now, and I think they taste great. So, yeah.
Cool. Another question here: can you grow more than one compatible type of mushroom at a time?
Great question. Yeah, so we were actually just talking about this. What we're kind of in the next couple of weeks going to be experimenting with is, can we basically get multiple mushroom species growing at once? And logically, the answer is yes. But before we start advertising that, we obviously want to test it. We want to make sure we're not having like a lot of issues around all of that. So, yeah, I mean, because that's kind of what we think would be sick is like, what if multiple different species growing within a terrace room? That's like visually speaking, that's super cool. And I also just think like in terms of variety. So Vince, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, no, I'm excited as well. I mean, I think, the potential to grow multiple varieties in there is super cool and something I've been wanting as well. And so we're going to, get that out as soon as we can. Got a couple tech questions coming up here. What permissions are needed for the app? So we're not going to request any, wild permissions. We don't need GPS access or anything like that. Just basic connection to the Wi-Fi, be able to connect to the terrace room. And then once you go through the initial setup, everything will go through the mobile app. There won't be any additional connections there. As far as the app will be available worldwide. Like we mentioned earlier, we're not quite shipping just yet to regions outside the US, but as soon as we do, the app will be available to control devices everywhere. But we're planning to also build in some content and social features into the app, so you might want to pop in and check it out before you even get your terrace room.
Awesome. Do you want to answer the same question from Randa, Vince?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, any AI ML capabilities or in the future? Not quite yet, but it's definitely something Jared and I have been talking about. AI is kind of the next cutting edge technology that'll really change pretty much every industry here. And one thing we'd love to potentially do, and obviously we'll work with our customers around this, but use some of the grow videos to help customers set ideal environments, see what it takes to get the best fruiting environment, yields, weights and measurements and things like that. And so really start to use some of the environment data around heating, airflow, humidity to really find that perfect sweet spot. And, something we're looking to do at this point. Still a pretty small team. We don't have any AI experts here just yet. So if you're an AI expert on the call, Miranda, or anyone else, hit us up, and we'd love to work with you.
Yeah. And I probably think that probably is something that we should just like briefly touch on is, maybe without like giving too much of like future product roadmap away. But I mean, I think what really the end goal that we'd love to do is, it's like, well, we have this like embedded camera that we can essentially monitor a live growth cycle. And ideally we'd get to the point where, we've all seen these like plant apps where it's like you basically scan a plant with your smartphone and basically tells you like what's growing, why is it sick, yada, yada. Ideally, it's like we could do something kind of similar where it's like the Terrashroom will basically have an embedded system with the camera that's going to tell you approximate, basically like, is it time to harvest based on the species variety and just some other information. So we think that there's so much room for the crossroads of that, especially with computer vision. But right now, our number one focus though is definitely like, how do we get, the V1 into customers' hands? So yeah.
One here from Anthony as well.
Yeah, tough questions.
We love it. So how do you compare to the other mushroom chambers on the market? I've experimented and used a couple of the competitors there, but I can say feature-wise and tech-wise, Terrashroom hits all the boxes as far as having an enclosed grow environment. A lot of the other competitors are gonna let spores leak out into your home and air, causing potential allergy issues or things like that. The ability to control it through a mobile app, all the features, light, temperature, humidity, everything you can just pop on your phone while you're at home or even on the go and update the settings there. Just the cool aspect of it, of the camera and the ability to get these awesome time-lapse videos out of it, as well as some, sick mood lighting, if you ask me. Trying to think what else. I mean, overall, just the aesthetic of it, like I don't want to toot our own horn too much, but I feel like Terrashroom is definitely the best looking way to grow mushrooms out there.
Yeah, I think like this is definitely, just something that, I think pretty much everyone that's ordered a Terrashroom is well aware of this. So best way to put it is like there's a lot of ways to grow mushrooms, and we're never going to be the type of company that's like you must grow in a Terrashroom. That is the only way to grow mushrooms. There's a lot of different ways to grow mushrooms. However, this is something to keep in mind is if you're busy, you have kids, you want the interior of your home to look nice, and you want to show off your grows without like a kind of a microwave looking device, we can pretty much guarantee that Terrashroom is what you're going to want to use. I mean, best way to just like to put it is like, and I apologize if anyone falls under this category, but it's like you can buy something like a Chevy Volt or like a Tesla. And best way to put it is like basically what we're building is like at the end of the day, you could say a Chevy Volt is an electric vehicle that still gets you from point A to point B, and Tesla does the same thing. But really, like what you just find is like the user experience, the features. There's all these things that go into it that just allows you to grow more mushrooms, have a way better experience, and at the end of the day, it's beautiful. And I think what's cool about that is, not only like I can't tell you how many times 5 people that will look at Terrashrooms in person, they'll just be like, those are so sick, and like I want one in my home. And it's just like, I promise you, like this will be the coolest piece of decor that you'll have in your home, which it's fun. It's a conversation starter. And we'll be uploading, like I said, we're gonna have like more product photography and stuff. And I think at the end of the day, it's a personal preference thing. But yeah, with like the Mel and Truly, it's they look a little rough on the design side, and they look a little bit clunky. But hey, there's a lot of other key features that I don't think they super thought out. But we totally respect what they're doing, and definitely wish them the best. All right.
John C's got a pretty fun one here. Is it feasible to start a mushroom colony via Terrashroom and then transplant the colony to the garden? I'm actually trying that right now, so we'll let you know. I've got I had fruited, and I've got some old trees out here in the yard. And so I took the cake and dropped them into the tree stump just to see if could get a second wind and grow out there. But if you want to kind of start fruiting the mushrooms, and then you've got a variety that would do well in the garden, like a wine cap or something like that, you more likely than not could take that thing and drop it into your soil and have it kind of take over there. So
Yeah.
Again, not something we've completely tested out yet. I'll let you guys know how my experiment goes, but it's probably in the realm of definite possibilities.
Yeah. I was gonna say, actually, it's this might be a little bit premature to say this, but I almost want to say definitely yes. So this is kind of the thing is, once you take spent cakes out of the Terrashroom, they basically still have like the genetic mycelial mass, like underlying network that is still there. So you have that genetic property, and basically what just happened is like it's out of energy, it's out of nutrients after it's been spent. So by basically taking that, and if you want to put it in your garden, the mycelial mass will still actually then basically go underground or basically like colonize your garden bed. So it's actually a really good way to reuse your cakes if you want, because then it's like it's basically feeding then on a new nutrient source. It's just it's obviously not everyone has gardens and stuff, so that's just kind of we do encourage that though, because guess what, like you're not just dumping them into the trash or anything like that. We highly encourage taking those cakes and like basically upcycling them in some way possible. All right, we got
Future thinker. Have you considered selling smaller, cheaper cakes for when you don't want a large harvest? You could potentially stack them to get 2 varieties at the same time.
yeah. So
Yeah.
go ahead, Vince.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to say, I think we touched on that
Yeah.
quickly earlier, but yeah, that's in our plans as well. We've got a design to be able to basically support multiple different mushrooms in the chamber at the same time, and so we'll be able to fit 3, 4, 5 pound cakes in there, but something a little smaller to get a variety going at the same time would be cool.
And maybe if you could follow up, Jeremy, with a question, because I think what I'd love to know is it that you're interested in smaller cakes for a smaller harvest, or do you just want more variety? Because if it's more variety, definitely stay tuned. We have been testing a little bit with like a cake casing design that would allow for multiple varieties to be grown. So yeah. What else we got?
We've got Brian here. Good one for Jared.
Specifically, or I mean, I think the obvious answer is mushrooms, but I think if we're going this way, reishi, oysters, and then behind is it's pink oysters. So a lot of, as I mentioned, I like oysters. So yeah. All right, what else do we have? Smaller harvest. Okay, so Jeremy said smaller harvest. Yeah, so I guess maybe some ways you could, if you just want a smaller harvest in general. I mean, like I'm just thinking practically, like maybe you could split the cakes in half. I don't know. Best way to just put it is, I don't know. That's interesting. I wonder why anyone would want a smaller harvest rather than a larger one. And I mean, best way to put it as well is it just fills out the dome a little bit better with a larger harvest. But yeah, good question.
We've got a warranty one here. Since it's heavy on tech, what kind of warranty will be available? And so, our number one priority has really been the reliability of this product. It should suit everyone for years to come. But that being said, all the components from our manufacturers come with warranties, and we'll be offering at least a 1-year warranty, if not more, for most of the, for every product. And then I was going to say, the way we design it as well is somewhat very modular, so individual pieces can be swapped in and out. So if, say, your light goes out or something else goes wrong, it's pretty easy for us to get that fixed up for you and sent back or warranty replaced.
Yeah, and I think another thing as well to keep in mind, Miranda. So I think this is like where in terms of the testing, what we've realized is there's definitely some aspects that are super prone to failure, specifically like the water atomizer, as well as the temperature humidity sensor, just because those basically whenever you look at like the data sheets for those basically have like a useful life period. And how we're actually designing it is because we really don't believe in the whole idea that if you are going to be or if you're selling a product, we see this a lot, whether it's like fast fashion or just like a lot of like Amazon products. It's like you kind of have these like semi-cheap products from China. And the problem is if something breaks, instead of just being able to like fix a single component, most of the time it's designed in a way that you have to throw it out, buy an entirely new product. Businesses do this simply. I mean, it kind of makes sense from a business standpoint. They want you to basically just buy more product and increases their revenue. For us, what we're actually doing is, there's different components that we've actually intentionally designed so they can be replaced, i.e. the sensor as well as the atomizer. Those are, as I mentioned, the two most prone to breaking. So why is that? I mean, like literally in a matter of a couple of very, very simple steps, anyone can basically prolong the life of their Terrashroom. And you don't have to throw away an entire unit, repurchase an entire unit. I mean, really, we do believe in this like idea that you can essentially, you know, I don't know, fix technology that breaks. And I think we're all familiar with, like, as iPhones and a lot of like smartphones over the years, you know, there's no way you can just go in and expand memory on an iPhone or like different features like that. And we kind of don't believe that's actually like a good way, especially when you think it from like a sustainability perspective. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah, so as Chris mentioned, modular replacement is a great idea. Dyson does that. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Is like, I mean, it's kind of a good way to put it. Like, we're just trying to make like Dyson-like products for the mushroom growing world. So thanks, Chris. That was good.
Got Tom here asking for the secret sauce. I don't know if going to be too heavy on details today, but Jared, can you explain more on the multi-cake feature? It's hard not contaminating things as it is. Really curious.
Yeah, so that's, as I mentioned, we're doing a lot of testing. So best way to describe it is, I mean, this is actually one thing that is important to note. Contamination, it's a relatively large problem if you have an uncolonized nutritional source. So basically, if you just have whatever the mycelium is going to be feeding off of, contamination is a very, very strong and likely possibility. If you do have a fully colonized cake or basically mycelial mass, it is a lot harder to have those same contamination issues. So basically what we're just looking at doing those have individual cakes that are essentially, I don't know if I want to like sell too much of it yet. I would almost rather that we do finish up some of this testing and we relaunch with like a video. Is that, because I don't want to overpromise on this, but this is something that we have a very interested perspective in being able to execute on this. So, so yeah, hope that answers your question, Tom. Okay, we are getting pretty close on time as well. So let's. Jesse did ask, what is the most interesting that you have grown outside of the mushroom world inside the Terrashroom? I've experimented a little bit with orchids, and that's pretty much it. Quite frankly, and like I said, I experimented a little bit. Pretty much, we're just keeping it mostly to mushrooms for now, just because that's like the main thing that people want it for. But I will say this is kind of like an interesting thing that you said this. So probably in the next couple of weeks, I actually grew up as a kid growing poison dart frogs, and I'm not saying I want to test that in a Terrashroom, but we're very, very strongly convinced that you can probably even have some amphibious or like basically frog-like tropical species in a Terrashroom as well. So we're testing and we'll report on that in the coming weeks or months. Okay.
Yeah, I learned, Jared. I'm going to ask you about that later. That sounds like a cool hobby.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, if you've ever seen a series of Unfortunate Events, the reptile room, that was kind of like my bedroom growing up as a kid. So,
right.
All right. Okay, so yeah, we are pretty much wrapping up, and I know that we did mention that we're giving away some swag to people that had the most engaged comments. So, did we, Emily or Amber or Vince, did we have those pulled up of who looks like is going to be winning that? Let's see. Okay, maybe not. Should we plan on just announcing the winners after, once we figure out or like look at the tally of the most engaged comments?
Yeah, I think we might have to do a recap and count the likes there. So
cool. Okay.
If you have awesome. Go up, vote, and like your favorite comments, and we'll take a snapshot towards the end of the afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Well, yeah. So no, this has been super fun, and we love all the questions that everyone has. So yeah, I mean, we'll be doing more of this as well. A couple other things probably to keep up or keep in mind is so this Sunday we will be sending a customer update email. We pretty much covered most of it in this, but this is going to be going to all of our audience, and yeah, so I mean, there's going to be a lot more information on that. Another thing as well to keep in mind. So we've been growing a lot, and basically with most other tech companies and such, we've decided, because we want to keep the momentum going, and we're looking at like doing future hires, yada yada. But so we will actually be doing we will be raising a pre-seed investment round coming up. So specifically, if you have any interest in owning some Terrashroom stock, being involved, anything like that, we really, really strongly recommend, basically, I think in the welcome email, we had more information on that, but we're going to have a lot more information coming out this Sunday about what the next, basically, what we, Q2 or spring is looking like. So,
yeah, we're really excited. And as a perk too, as well, most of the investors that join in this fundraisers rounds are also going to get a Terrashroom. So if you're going to buy one anyways, you might as well get some stock and double dip.
Yeah, exactly. There. Yeah. And I think probably it's important to add this as well. As we're like just talking about this, we are going to have all these details in this email, and we will be actually hosting a kind of like a Shark Tank like session. So it's going to be Vince, myself, and pretty much just a live webinar like this. And it's like, you guys basically get to grill us on like, if you want to like, should you want to invest in Terrashroom? It's like, we're going to answer all those questions. So basically you're going to see way more under the hood on like the business side and what we're doing here, because we are doing it through WeFunder, which is a public, like an equity crowdfunding platform. So what that just like, it kind of democratizes the ability to, fractionally own a company, instead of just, what we've seen in years past, where it's like you have a couple of venture capitalists that, will own a large majority of a company and only them. So we kind of want to like, how do we let our community that's backed us from day one, how do they basically have like real ownership in what we're doing? So anyways, that being said.
And real quick before we go, it looks like Amber and Emily were able to grab the most upvoted comments there. So we've got some swag giveaways for, looks like Amara Sophia and Ms. Winty on IG there. So
all right,
we'll DM you later and get your details and
hook
you up with some swag.
Yeah, here, let's show off. This is some of the. Should we do a little swag show? One second, let me put on the hoodie.
It's a little hot here in Texas today. Otherwise, I'd be wearing my hoodie too. So I hope you live in a cold climate, because you're getting a warm sweater.
All right, showing it off. This is the new swag. So, anyways, anyways, so yeah, we got some cool stuff. It's actually cool. Emily, who's been killing it on social media lately, she's got some new designs. So we're going to be sharing those pretty soon. But awesome. Tom, also cool. I grew up in Fort Worth, so that's pretty cool. Awesome. Okay. Anyways, thanks everyone so much for joining. This has been an awesome session. Stay on the lookout for that email that we're going to be sending on Sunday, and lots of updates there. Y'all are amazing, and this is super fun. We'll be doing more of these in the future, and just appreciate everyone that's been supporting us on this journey. So hope you have a great rest of the Friday. Have a great weekend, and talk soon.